She's shy.
A humble guy named Lars Lindstrom sees Karen heading toward his house. She has come to invite him to breakfast, but Lars says he has to get ready for church. However, he promised to come in the evening. Before going to bed, Karen, who is now pregnant, tells her husband that she is worried about his little brother. Something is obviously wrong with him. At church, Lars listened to the priest preach and then helped the older lady, Mrs. Gruner, carry the flowers to her car. The woman advised him to meet some pretty girl and gave a flower. However, when Lars was called out by the coworker, he immediately threw it away. Gus assures the wife that Lars is not coming. He is used to being alone. Karen made sure of this when she saw Lars, who lives next door in the converted garage, go into his house, pretending to forget his promise to visit them. At work, Cindy hinted to Lars that it would be nice for him to go on a date with Margot. However, another colleague advised him to think about buying a special doll that could replace a real woman. Margot came in and began to flirt openly with Lars, but he defiantly ignored her hints. In the evening, Karen invited him to dinner for the umpteenth time. Lars came up with a lot of reasons to refuse, but Karen was very persistent. He had no choice but to accept. At the table, Lars behaved very stiffly, feeling uncomfortable. Karen worries about him, but Gus is used to his brother's behavior. Their father was exactly the same, though Lars doesn't remember him at all. Gus explicitly said that he and Karen want him to move in with them, but Lars is not thrilled with the idea. 6 weeks passed. Lars had a package delivered while he was at work. When he got home, Lars closed the curtains, brushed his teeth, put on a dress sweater, combed his hair, and visited the brother and his wife in the evening. When Lars announced to have a woman in his house, Gus and Karen were shocked. He said that he had supposedly met his beloved on the internet, but the problem was that she moved around in a wheelchair. And since his chosen one is very religious, she needs her own room. Karen, who was very happy for Lars, immediately went to prepare the room for the guest. But what was the surprise of the couple when Lars brought a doll instead of a woman, introducing her as Bianca? Lars acted as if she were real and told that the beloved had grown up in a convent, but now wanted to see the world. On the pretext of bringing plates, the couple retreated to the kitchen and began to think in a panic what they should do now, because Lars was going crazy. Karen came up with a plan. This evening they would play along with Lars, and then find a way to help him. At dinner, Lars ate from 2 plates at the same time and recounted the biography of his new girlfriend. According to him, she's not from around here. Recently her luggage and wheelchair had been stolen, so Lars asked Karen to lend Bianca some clothes.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine.
Later, Lars brought Bianca into the room. The couple watched in shock as he confessed his affection for the doll. Then they suggested all go to the doctor together tomorrow. Like, stress of the flight and all the events that followed could have affected Bianca's health. When everyone had left, Karen examined the doll. The couple realized that Lars had ordered it from a special website. They could not sleep for a long time, fearing that Lars' fantasies would go too far. The next morning they went to the hospital, as they had agreed. Lars was telling Bianca about their town. In the line outside the office, all the people watched in bewilderment as Lars talked to the doll. Seeing the patient's condition, Dr. Dagmar Berman decided to play along and gave Bianca a checkup and then talked to the concerned spouses. Dagmar surmises that Lars has had a delusional disorder because of some stress. It will end when he solves his problem, but for now the spouses will have to play along with him every day. Gus doesn't like it, but there is no other way. At home, Karen tried to pretend that everything was all right. Gus didn't go to work and stayed home for fear that his brother would get out of control. At one point Gus couldn't take it anymore and said that Bianca was just a piece of plastic, but it was like Lars didn't hear him. After promising to call Bianca all the time, he left for work.
Come on, Bianca, let's make a couple of calls.
Lars complimented Cindy, which was uncharacteristic of him. She in turn invited him to a party at her house. Margot did not expect to hear that Lars was coming to the party with his girlfriend. In the afternoon, Karen met with her friends and told them about the strange things going on in their lives. Later, she and her husband went to the congregation for help. Everyone was willing to help them in any way they could. Lars brought Bianca to the church, and everyone kept looking at them. People were sympathetic to Lars' illness, and Mrs. Gruner even gave Bianca flowers. Now Lars took the girlfriend with him everywhere. Gus had to put up with that. Today Lars planned to spend time with Bianca at the lake, where he often played with his brother as a child. Lars seemed happy. He felt perfectly comfortable in Bianca's company. Meanwhile, Gus was reading about the delusional disorder on the internet. Soon Lars brought Bianca back to Dr. Berman for a checkup. He was really worried about his beloved's health and asked the doctor if she was going to be all right. At work, Gus told his co-workers about what was going on with his brother. In the evening he with the wife took care of Bianca, as they had promised Lars. Lars' meetings with Dr. Berman continued. He confessed that he was worried about Karen, his brother's wife. He felt that her desire to please and help everyone around her was not going to do any good. Lars also admitted that he was not comfortable with people, as well as their touch. Lars wears several layers of clothing to avoid feeling touched. The doctor helped him take the first step toward overcoming this phobia. In the evening, Lars with Bianca arrived at Cindy's party. She, her husband Baxter, and the other guests had been warned in advance, so they were not too confused at the sight of the doll. The guests spent the entire evening discussing Lars' new girlfriend. People were sympathetic to what was going on, because they knew he was sick. On the way home, Lars asked Bianca if she had fun. In the afternoon he read aloud to her, and later they visited his parents' graves. In the psychotherapy sessions, Lars was making progress and was already less afraid of being touched. He confessed that he was anxious before the birth of his nephew. Bianca is infertile, and Lars has conflicting feelings about that. His and Gus's mother passed away in childbirth, so Lars never knew her. Lars had a panic attack, but Dr. Berman was able to calm him down. Soon Bianca even got a job as a model in a clothing store. Margot and Cindy decided to change her image and took her to a beauty salon. In the evening, Karen watched through the window as a happy Lars danced with Bianca. Gus thinks the brother is not better. He will never recover. Gus feels guilty, thinking that he didn't take good care of his brother. Karen hugs the husband to support him. At work, Margot began to flirt with another colleague. At home, Karen and Mrs. Gruner cleaned up Bianca's appearance. Deciding that the beloved had made some plans for the evening without his knowledge, Lars came into conflict with her. This was their first quarrel. Mrs. Gruner said that no woman should do the whims of her man, and she took Bianca with her. Lars was very upset by this, thinking that the beloved had abandoned him. He thinks she doesn't give a damn about him, like everyone else. Karen couldn't stand it and emotionally told Lars that all the people in this town do everything they can to make him feel comfortable. Everyone tries for him, but he doesn't appreciate it. In the evening, Lars thanked the brother for helping him and Bianca. At work, Margot continued to actively flirt with Eric. Now they were a couple. For some reason, Lars was nervous about this. Lars told Dr. Berman in confidence that he had recently asked Bianca to marry him, but she refused. They quarreled more and more, Lars not liking the tone in which the beloved speaks to him. Lars decided to share his worries with the brother and asked him how he realized that he had become an adult. Gus answered that a grown-up should always do the right thing and think not only about himself, but also about the people closest. One day upset Margot told Lars that she had broken up with Eric. She also admitted that she only dated him because she was lonely. When Margot asked Lars if he had plans for Friday, he said that he was free because Bianca had decided to spend the evening without him. On Friday they went bowling. Soon they were joined by mutual acquaintances. Lars had never spent time in company before, but now he was much less afraid of people. Everyone had a fun time. Margot thanked Lars for a wonderful evening. He honestly told her that he would never betray Bianca, so there could be nothing more than friendship between them. Margot assured that she hadn't had any such thoughts. She wasn't planning on stealing another man's boyfriend. Surprisingly, Lars was able to take her hand. Now touching was not unpleasant for him. At another psychotherapy session, Lars told Dr. Berman that he was having a hard time. Bianca has not only refused to marry him, she is increasingly silent. Their relationship is deteriorating. Despite everything, Lars continued to treat Bianca warmly, hoping that the old feelings would return to them. One morning Gus and Karen woke up to Lars screaming. He was in a panic because he could not wake Bianca. Since his beloved never woke up, Lars asked to call an ambulance. At Dr. Behrman's request, the paramedics played along with Lars. Bianca was taken to the hospital, and soon the doctor gave the unfortunate news. Bianca was seriously ill. She probably didn't have long to live. Lars did not leave the bed of his beloved. When his friends found out what had happened, they worried as if Bianca were a real woman. During this time, everyone became so used to her that they forgot that she was a doll. Dr. Berman later told the couple that Lars' fantasy would soon reach its logical conclusion. The doctors let Bianca go home to pass away in peace. Lars couldn't hold back tears. He felt depressed and broken. Caring people brought flowers to their house to support Bianca. Lars was constantly visited by friends to let him know he was not alone. Karen and Gus decided to go to the lake and invited Lars and Bianca along, thinking that they would all benefit from some fresh air. While Gus and his pregnant wife were walking in the woods, Lars kissed his beloved for the first time. He cried, realizing he had to let her go. Soon Bianca passed away. All the people came to the church to say goodbye to her. The priest paid tribute to the extraordinary life of Bianca, which was able to bring so many people together and remind them how important the support of loved ones is. After the farewell ceremony, people went to the cemetery. Dr. Berman noticed that Gus was crying. After all that had happened, Lars was finally able to overcome his fears. Gus thanked the doctor for everything. Margot came up to grieving Lars to support him. They would both miss very much Bianca, who had changed each of their lives. When Lars suggested that Margot go for a walk, she gladly agreed.